रोटी खाओ वरना मेरी गोली तो है ही। ये नया भारत घर में घुसकर मारता है। चुन चुन करके हिसाब लेना, ये मेरी फितरत है।
Hi everyone, welcome to News Channel. Namaskar. So last Wednesday we saw a recent development happening in the South Asia, which was in the Middle East and the South Asia, which was Saudi Arabia and nuclear armed. Pakistan signed a formal mutual defense pact. This happened on Wednesday, and there are reasons why this sudden transformation or transition happened. Now Saudi Arabia and nuclear armed Pakistan signed a formal mutual defense pact in a move that significantly strengthens a decade-long security partnership amid heightened regional tensions. So there are heightened, regional tensions which is of late going on in the Middle East. We have seen since months, with Israel and Gaza, whatever has happening, and that has impacted the Middle East region. And that is one of the reasons why Saudi Arabia has taken the step. The other reason which I see that Saudi Arabia has taken the step is because of US being a guarantor and then not living up to that name, which is the guarantor name. Now, the enhanced defense ties comes as Gulf Arab states, grow increasingly vary about the reliability of the United States as their long-standing security guarantor. Right. So, for ages and for decades, US had acted as a guarantor to the Middle East in exchange for oil. Now things have changed since Trump came into the picture, right? Trump, had in fact visited Saudi Arabia also, uh, and Israel's attack on Qatar last week also heightened these tensions, right? Now let's try to understand the dynamics of this bonhomie between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, right? After Pakistan's first nuclear test, which was done in 1998, right? And it landed under international sanctions and diplomatic isolation. The country turned for help to a long-time ally, which is Saudi Arabia. Now, this was way back, we're speaking of 1998. Now, at that point of time, Khalid Mahmood, then Pakistan's ambassador to Riyadh, requested an urgent meeting with King Fahd bin Abdulaziz at that point of time. Now, the Saudi monarch objected to the test which happened at that point of time. But nevertheless, they also pledged to support more than expected. They pledged to support Pakistan, right? Now, the very next day, Pakistan, when the tests were done, the very next day, Pakistan was promised $3.4 billion in Saudi financial support. Funds that helped Islamabad proceed with a second nuclear test at that point of time. Now, that particular moment helped shape Pakistan's role in the eyes of many as a de facto nuclear shield for the Saudi kingdom. So this particular thing which has happened last week is not something new. This goes decades back. Now, as regional tensions escalated, in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and the UAE pushed for a formal American security guarantee. Now, after failing to secure one from the Biden administration, that was 2 3 years back, the Saudi conference issued an explicit warning that the Saudi kingdom's patience with Washington was running out and was might be running thin. Although in September 2023, interview with Fox News, Prince Mohammed bin Salman said that Riyadh could shift their permanency from America to any other place. A strong Saudi Arabia, he said, meant a strong America. This was a very critical statement at that point of time. I am again repeating the statement: a strong Saudi Arabia means a strong America also. And he also mentioned at that point of time that you don't want this to be shifted, this thought to be shifted, right? Now, when Trump had returned to the White House, Saudi Arabia placed renewed hopes in him. After whatever happened with the Biden administration, the Saudi Arabians thought that okay, we have Trump in place. he would do something which is really favorable for the Saudis to give them more guarantee. And hence, when this Trumpet became the president over there, his one of the first visit was to Saudi Arabia. Riyadh rolled out the purple and the royal carpet for him during the first international trip of his second term when Trumpet came into the presidency. But the defense pact, which Riyadh sought, has yet to be materialized. Even after Trumpet's visit in the second term, right, the particular defense pact, which Saudi Arabia wants with the US, has yet to be materialized. That is one of the reasons you see that now the Saudi Arabians are, do not see United States as a guarantor. Now, during that same trip, Trump had made a public pledge to protect Qatar. This is very important. During the same trip, right, when Trumpet was in Qatar, he publicly pledged to protect Qatar, right? After Gulf states committed to trillions of dollars to the US economy. Now, the trillions of dollars were were promised, for the US economy. But where is the protection which the US committed and protection to Qatar and specifically? Yet he has gone on to provoke, when you speak about Israel, right? And Israel, we spoke initially now, Israel is into a war with Gaza since a long time. And the problem is that the Trump administration is not doing anything to stop Israel, right? They had this war with Iran, right? The first ever direct Iranian standoff or the conflict on a Gulf state, and US failed to prevent the same. Now, what happens is just a month, I mean, it was this month itself, right? When Iran bombarded Qatar in precise bombing, whenever Israelis do a bombing in a state or in a country, they do it very, very precisely. Let's say if there's somebody sitting in a building in a particular room, right? They would go ahead and target that room so that the rest of the building does not get impacted. That is the precision with which the Israelis struck. We have seen this happening, right, with the Hamas leaders. We have seen this happening with the Hamas leaders before also, and this is the pinpoint strike which Israel did in this month in Qatar with the Hamas leaders which were there. And then what happens over here when Israel struck Qatar? It The US proved ineffective in deterring an Israeli strike, right, which was aimed at Qatar, suggesting that for all its strategic weight, the US military footprint in the Gulf may no longer be as good enough or maybe as good enough to shield the other countries or serve as a shield it once was thought out to be. So that is one of the reasons you see now Saudi relying on Pakistan, right, to give them cover. Because the kind of promises which was made by the US, not living up to it, and giving Israel a free hand to do things in the Middle East has made the entire region insecure. How is Pakistan going to support Saudi is a big question in itself, right? Now when this particular pact happened between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, I mean there was a slight ruckus in the Indian administration because India has a very good relation with Saudi Arabia strategically, right? Though Saudi is maintaining that relation will remain intact despite of this coalition or the strategic coalition with the Pakistani. And there's one particular point mentioned in that agreement or the contract between the Saudi and the Pakistani is that if any one country would get hit, right? If any one country out of the Saudi or the Pakistani would get hit, the other country would come out to support. As for the other country, it would be like akin that okay, if Pakistan is being hit, it means Saudi Arabia is also being hit. If Saudi is being hit, it means Pakistan is also being hit. So that is something which Saudi was desperately looking at. Someone to cover its back or somebody to cover its behind, which US failed to do by the demonstration of whatever Israel did in Qatar. So that's a this particular step has been taken keeping in mind whatever happened in Qatar via Israel. Now, as I said, the Indian administration is keeping it tight-lipped, right? They've not come out in the open. They've only said, okay, we will observe, we will look into this, the way things turn out between these two countries, the pact which has happened. And Pakistan of recently has also mentioned that we are not averse to somebody coming under this umbrella of protection when it comes to Middle East countries. We would want more Islamic countries to join this umbrella along with Saudi Arabia. So the message has been clear from Pakistan. They would require more allies over there, right? Now the message from India's side is very tight-lipped at this point of time. It is more of a wait and observe kind of a stance. And I don't think so. Personally, if you ask me, it's not going to impact a lot to India at this point of time. But we would really have to see that how is this pact going to impact India in the long run, and in the coming days or months, you would see more turnaround or more statements coming on this. That's about it. Thank you for watching the show today. Uh, Please subscribe to the channel for more future updates, more stories, more episodes. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Namaskar.